This is the first screen after you open up aprsdroid. What you'll see is your call sign, which is typically the very first sign that you see. The other sign that you see, or signs that you see, are other stations that are reporting into the system. At the top, where it says aprsdr dot dot dot, going across there, you'll see an hourglass, a map, a little arrow key, and three dots that are in a vertical line. Moving to the map icon, that's the button that you push to bring up the map, which is our next slide. This is the screenshot that I saved after I brought up the map. This shows my call sign and an icon, which in this case is a person walking. It says KC1MEI-5. The dash number indicates what type of a system you're using. The dash 5 basically means I'm using the cell phone with the cell towers. I could have a dash 9, a dash 10. The different numbers indicate whether you have a handheld radio or whether you're walking or whether you're riding in a vehicle. So that's what the dash means. The next slide just shows that this is a Google app, and you can zoom in, zoom out, and it just gives you more detail on the maps. This next slide is your APRS droid preferences. You get to this screen by clicking on the vertical three dot line on that was introduced in the first slide. What this does is it allows you to basically set up your APRS system for how you're going to use it. You start off with your call sign, which you got to have with your amateur radio. Then you go down to your SSID. That tells the system tells people that are looking at the system how you're actually interacting with the system. One would be basically through your cell phone or other network, D-Star, 3G. You can interact with a handheld radio through a terminal node controller. You can interact with as a mobile station with a much larger radio. That I have both of those. And you can set up all sorts of stuff: balloon, aircraft, spacecraft, freight vehicle, weather station. Anyways, that's what the SSID is. The APRS digipath, what you'll see there is wide 1-1, wide 2-1. I'm no authority on APRS at all, but my understanding of this is that you have wide 1-1 and wide 2-1 to make sure that you get all of the different digipeaters that are out there. Some of the digipeaters are on towers, and they're the ones that are the main digipeaters for getting you into the internet. Then you have temporary or home-based digipeaters. A temporary one might be in a vehicle or in a home, and you want to include all of the possible ways that your signal can be repeated. So you put that in, and then wide 2-1 limits the number of hops or bounces that your signal makes. The reason why you want to do that is once you get into the system, the towers, if you keep bouncing all over the place, you'll wind up all over the country if you doing repeated hops over and over and over again, and it just isn't needed. What you need is the number of hops or bounces that's necessary to get you into the internet, and that's usually just 2 hops. Then you have your connection preferences, which gets into how you connect to the system, one through the internet, cell phone system, like what you see, what we're using here. Then the other one, they have other ones that you can use, but the other one that I use is TNC KISS, or terminal node controller. Keep it simple, stupid, I believe is what that is. And that's what I use with my handheld radio. And that's basically the APRS droid preferences. You can also, there are also submenus for setting up how often or frequently you send your signal. Typically you want to do that a minute or less, a minute or more, so that you aren't creating a lot of man-made noise out there with radio signals. The next slide gets away from the cell phone and gets into what actually appears on aprs.fi on the internet. The next slide is what you see when you go on to aprs.fi. This brings up a fairly large map that shows other stations and your station relative to each other on the map. Again, these are Google Maps, so they're very detailed. Over on the right-hand side, you can see where it says track call sign. You type in somebody's call sign, hit search, and it brings up that call sign so you don't have to search for that person. Or you can search by address, city or zip code. Below the tracking searching functions are show last and track tail length. So you can basically search for a person for up to 7 days in the system, and the tail length is when you send a signal every minute, it creates a tail or a line that shows where you've been traveling, and you track the tail based upon how long it's been out there. So if somebody was using the system for 8 hours and you track the tail length for only 5 hours, you'll only get the locations that were sent in the last 5 hours, even though they sent them over the past 8 hours. That's basically what this screen shows you. The next screen shows how to basically zoom in and get focused on your location on the internet. In the next screen that we have here, what I've done is I've taken my mouse and I've scrolled over to where my call sign is after searching for my call sign, and I click on the icon, and what that brings up is it brings up a little menu with my call sign, and you see where it says Zoom and it says Info. If I click on Info, it'll bring up a bunch of information about my location, the path that's used to get my signal into the internet, and other stations that are nearby, and a whole bunch of information that you may or may not want to know. One of the things that I like to do is I click on the zoom, and it really automatically just zooms right in on my location and gives you a much closer point of view on the map, which is what the next slide is. This is the last slide after I clicked on the zoom. I just wanted to include this because it's so handy and it's so easy. So you click on the icon, you see the zoom, you click on the zoom, and it just focuses right in and brings you right up close to where your location is and shows a lot of detail. This overall screen shot presentation is just kind of an introduction and what might be interesting for some people that don't want to get into the radio aspect, because the only thing you need to do this is an amateur radio call sign at the easiest level, the technician level, and a cell phone. And the total cost for this is $4.95. As far as the screen on a cell phone, it may not be large enough for a lot of people, but you can also set up a mirror function or a mirror app with your cell phone to have what your screen is on the cell phone be mirrored onto a much larger tablet or laptop or whatever type of screen that you may have. Anyways, that's what I wanted to kind of introduce for using with the cell phone. That doesn't include any of the handheld radios or the radios that you would install in a machine. Hope it was helpful.